Thank you for joining my broadcast. I am Johnny Steed. A few words about the sovereignty of God. If you believe in the sovereignty of God, then you trust Him in all things, even if you don't understand them. A particular note is that God lifts up and brings down world leaders. He lifted up and appointed President Obama. He appoints all of our presidents. If he wants them in office, and the people have humbled themselves, or if they have not humbled themselves, he chooses accordingly. He has turned the decision over to us and has influenced us through his Spirit, if we so believe, to choose the right leader. Unfortunately, in the case of President Obama, evil succeeded, but it was also part of God's will. He needed us to become so righteously indignant that we had no choice but to choose his choice. Now, you may have a problem with President Trump. You may call him all kinds of names, disagree with him on policies, on procedures, on personal lifestyle choices. But to hate him is to hate yourself, because he hasn't done anything that any man has done before. King David comes to mind. King David was a man after God's own heart. Reread his story. He chose a woman not to be his, seduced her, brought her into his inner chambers, impregnated her, and then caused the death of her husband, a very loyal subject, who by his very nature even refused to have relations with his own wife because his men that he was in charge over would not enjoy the same pleasures. This was a man of honor, of dignity, of integrity. But God chose David to be after his own heart. So be offended by President Trump's moral choices that he has done, indeed, in the past. But more so than that, President Trump was appointed by God. But I believe he was also anointed by God, in the same way David was anointed to be king. Think about this. What other president have you ever believed would follow through with his promise to support Israel? There is an embassy in Jerusalem. If you support God, if you stand behind and beside God, if you worship and obey God, and you recognize that Israel is the apple of his eye, Israel is the center of the universe, the center of his creation, and President Trump has now recognized that, then you have no choice but to honor God by honoring the president. It's that simple. I stand behind the president. Shoot, that's all done.